Hey folks, ever since I showed my little preview demo of WebXR and multiple cameras running in Unreal Engine 5.2, I've been hearing a lot of interest in how to do this. And I've been meaning to put together like a proper, robust, long-form tutorial that would explain this in detail. Have not found the time to do that. Don't see when I'm going to find the time to do that in the immediate future, but I at least want to give you a little bit of a morsel. So in this totally unprepared, like, let's just record this and see what happens, I at least want to introduce everyone to the current state of how to get multiple cameras streaming from a single Unreal Engine instance. So let's see if we can at least do that, and then we can talk about WebXR and VCam and multiplayer split screen games that are now on separate browser windows later. Step one, let's get multiple things going. So first thing you're going to want to do is open up Unreal Engine 5.2, and we're just going to do a third-person template, just a real simple way to have, a character who's moving around who we can capture from a few different angles. Very easy to do this in your own project if you want, as long as you're in 5.2. Speaking of which, you're also going to want to go to the Pixel Streaming Infrastructure GitHub. This is run by an awesome company called TensorWorks, even though it is under the Epic Games moniker. And this is where you'll find the most updated version of the Pixel Streamer. Now, in theory, this is supposed to get pulled whenever you do a build with Pixel Streaming activated, but that hasn't been my experience recently. So my simple practice, rather than just keeping even like a GitHub going of this, which, would make sense, is to just go ahead and download a zip or just grab the latest release. The zip, of course, will be a little bit newer. So I'll just do this. I'll download the zip. I'll grab that guy. And then I'm going to find where the Pixel Streaming plugin lives in Unreal. And I'm trying to do all this while I've got something else in the background. So we're going to do third person. And I'll just drop this in, my UE folder there. And we'll call this multiple cameras 5.2 or something like that. Yeah, great title, Alex. Well done. And we'll just let that load up. That should only take a second. I am on an RTX 4090, by the way. However, you'll see that once you start getting multiple cameras running, graphics card doesn't seem to matter because I'm getting about the same frame rate in this project as I did with my Eagle Meerkat demo, which is much, much heavier. So I think that when you start to see a drop in frame rate with multiple cameras, there's something else going on, like network bandwidth or something like that. I'm not sure. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So one thing we can do right away here is in plugins. You can tell that this is a totally unplanned tutorial because I'm just bouncing back and forth between things. No, not the Pixel Streaming player. That's for if you want to play Pixel Streaming content in your scene. You can do that too and get really meta, Inception-y. Let's go Pixel Streaming there. And we'll just restart. And even though this is going to be now tied to the other plugin, the features we want to use actually, as far as I know, don't work yet inside the level editor. You do actually need to make a build. I at least have not been able to get it to work from within the level editor. So as cool as streaming the full editor and all that fun stuff is, we will need to make a build to see what's going on. So let's hop out of Unreal for a second and do something with the download we just got of the latest version of the Pixel Streaming Infrastructure. We're going to open this up and we are going to go ahead and move over into the right folder where the Pixel Streaming plugin lives. And so this is over in wherever we installed Unreal, Epic Games 5.2, Engine, Plugins, Media, Pixel Streaming, over here, okay? And then under Resources, Web Servers, this is the stuff that we get when we actually create a build. This stuff all supposedly copies over. Doesn't happen for me yet, but I think it will, hopefully by the time 5.2 is released. So just bear with me here as I kind of walk you through my janky ways to get things to work the way I want them to right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all this here and drag it all into here. If you have this fresh and you haven't already done a bunch of stuff like I have, you probably won't see that front end folder. That's a bit of a clue that there's a newer goodness inside the one on the website. And once that's in there, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to go down into SignallingWebServer. We're going to go into platform scripts. We're going to go into command. And then right here, we need to do the front end, set up front end, and we're going to do that as build. And so the easiest way to do that is we'll right click here. I'm in Windows 11, and I'm going to just open a PowerShell window, which is somewhere over here. La, 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 la. Or terminal's fine. And so that's all set there. And we're just going to do /bash setup front end .bat and then -- build. Great. So now it's going to do its thing. I've already done this, so it might go faster for me than it does for you. Make sure you have Node.js installed. If you don't have Node.js installed, you should actually be able to get an automatic install just by doing run local first. I am finding that these days that will actually just kind of do everything that you need it to do. But we'll give this a second. It might be doing like a full rebuild, so maybe this does take the same amount of time. And there it is. Not sure what that extra step was there. So that's all set. Then we can do run local. Yes, it's okay. And this should make sure that, other things get installed. If not, it's also just, running the server. So if you see some green lights, things are probably good. You see it's for 5.2. That's all fun. Fun fact, by the way, if you do want to use the WebXR stuff, which again, no time to go over that today, you do need to be using HTTPS, and that can be set just right over here in that config JSON folder. Oh, by the way, I've had some people comment on some of my videos and be like, hey, how do you get that nice preview window on the side? I can show you that. That is under View, Show, Preview pane right there, right? Yeah, so it's kind of nice. Anytime you've got like some batch files or whatever and you're trying to, know what they say, just render them all there. Anyways, so that's all cool. And yeah, that's where we could change HTTPS to true. There's one other thing we need to do. So you'll see I've got a folder in here called certificates. You probably do not have a folder called certificates. So let me walk you through what we need to do here. You will create in web service signaling web server a folder called certificates. You with me? And then within there, we are going to open up a gitbash here. So you do need Git on your computer for this. And I will give you this command, don't worry. And that's going to create a new private key. And I don't know if any of this stuff should be private. I'm probably not going to keep using it, but city. I'm just going to make some stuff up. Organization name, not Alex. Am I breaking the law by saying this? My section name is section. Name, not Alex. Email address, not Alex, @alex.com. Great. Okay, so I think it did it. It made a thing. Yeah, that's all there. And so in certificates folder, you'll see this now. If you see an error later about like, hey, couldn't find the .pem file, it means that you haven't done this. So just keep that in mind. Okay, and with all that done, what I'm actually going to tell you to do, and again, no idea if this is actually what you should be doing, but it's what I will recommend. Just go ahead and zip this whole guy up because you're probably just going to want to copy it whenever you make a build. I'm going to use 7Z because it's a little bit chunkier, but there's a lot of files in here. See, we got like 110,000 files. So even though this isn't that huge, it's going to take a bit. So, again, hopefully by the time 5.2 comes out, I've either done this wrong or there's just a little bug that's been corrected, but I'm just showing you what I need to do right now. While that's happening, back in Unreal, if you've never done the third-person template before, you press play and you move around and you can jump around. This is your WASD keys, mouse to look around, and spacebar to jump around, right? So that's simple enough. So let's pretend this is a stage, virtual production. We've got all sorts of crazy stuff happening, and we want some cameras. So what we actually need to do is use what are called scene captures. And the scene capture looks a little bit like a camera, but this can render to a texture, and then that texture can go to other places, like, hey, a pixel streaming setup. So we're going to create a really simple little blueprint. I'm going to be badly organized and put it directly here in my content folder. And I'm just going to right click and say blueprint class. I could base it on the scene capture 2D class. That would be fine. I'll just do actor and call it BP streamer thing. I'm so clever with my naming conventions. And we'll open that guy up and we'll crash Unreal. Love it. Let's try again. We're creating a new blueprint class. We'll do it. Oh, actor. We're trying the same thing again. We are doing the definition of insanity. We're going to keep doing the same thing and hope for different results. BP pixel stream camera. Sure. A little bit different name. Gonna save that. Let's just save it. Empty little blueprint class. We'll open it up. Hey, it didn't crash. Fantastic. Over in the event graph, all we need is on begin play is we're going to have a pixel streaming component. So if we type in stream, we'll see streamer component, and it actually comes up as pixel streaming streamer. Cute. I love that name. And then all we're going to do is make sure that this guy, just do a validated get. I do everything as validated gets now, just in case for some reason something isn't working. And we'll say if that's valid, then we are going to activate streaming or start streaming or something like that. Start streaming, that's the one. Great. Is valid, start streaming. Is not valid, your basic debugging. No streamer. you know, this is a very, very simple blueprint I'm making, but something like this is infinitely useful in other contexts where you're referencing something that isn't actually a component right in here. While we're here also, I'm just going to try, because I know that there's going to be a bit of like a stutter once I get a few of these in my scene. I'm going to try changing the tick interval for event tick to 0.1. I don't think that will matter. You'll notice we're not even like technically using event tick here, but I'm just trying to be creative. Oh, and for Pixel Streaming Streamer, right, we also need a actual scene capture. So scene capture 2D, we'll leave the default settings for the moment. You know, I know that if we were doing something like the VR spectator camera, which is basically a good out-of-the-box version of this, especially if you're doing the WebXR thing, instead of scene color HDR, it uses final color LDR. I think that's also a little bit more lightweight, so I guess I can at least change over to that. We'll leave it on capture every frame, capture on movement. You know, we could have some kind of way to turn these off if we want to, but I'm just doing the bare minimum, guys. Story of my life, just the bare minimum. And for video input, we're going to go and create a render target streamer video input. And I really should put these in a folder. Streamer stuff. And let's give it a slightly simpler name. We're going to probably make 4 of these. But look at that. Look how long that name is. Let's just go video input render target, and we'll call that 1 because we're going to make a few of these. So save. Let's do a frame rate of 24 like film. Leave all this stuff. Oh, let's give it a name. So let's call this one camera 1, right? 1. So that's all good. And then when we open this up, we're also going to need a render texture target, which we don't have right now. So let's go ahead and create a render target. And right there in that same folder, it's so funny that it adds the word new, like you're going to call everything new. Texture target 2D 1, right? So it's going to pair with that one. So that's fine. That's fine. We have our streamer that's connected to all that. We have our scene capture component. This one also under the texture target needs to be targeting that. So you need it in both of those places. And that should be good, right? I think that's it. I think that's all we need, guys. If I'm crazy and I'm forgetting something, we're going to find out pretty quickly. Well, not super quickly, because we actually need to make a build to see if this is working. But what we'll do now is we'll drag our little blueprint in. And all we're going to do is we're going to get, we'll do 2 cameras to start. Okay, so 1 camera over here, and then another camera way over here. And we could pilot these, you know, cameras and lights are great candidates for like piloting something and being like, well, let's pick an actual angle. So there we got like kind of a God's eye view, eject out of that. And this one's 1, I think. So yeah, let's call that one 1. Let's put these guys in a folder. Pixel streamer camera. Pixel stream camera. Okay, and yeah, that one's going to use all the default settings we have. And now for number 2, we're just going to go and swap out all the things. So scene capture component. Yeah, I mean, if we made this as an actual scene capture component thing, we'd be skipping some of the default scene root stuff, and we would get to see this up there. It's fine though. So scene capture component 2D, we're going to create a new one of these. And so let's just make sure we're using the same kind of naming conventions. Little preview that this is working. We can see the camera view there. We'll go ahead and duplicate, right? So now 1, oh, that's not what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to name it properly. We might be able to get it to start naming it properly if we do a little underscore there. See, there's some situations where Unreal numbers things well, and then there's situations like this where it clearly couldn't tell that I wanted to do some sequential numbering here. So let's try that again now. Let's try going duplicate again. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. That worked. So the little underscore helps there. And, you know, ultimately we're going to have 4 of these, so I'll just get all those out of the way now. So we got 4 of these. Do a quick little save all. And yeah, so here under 2, we want render texture target 2. And then we have to go down to Pixel Streaming Streamer. And we also want that to be number 2. And then also, we may as well do this part right now. Double click here or double click here and make sure each of these is also doing the right target. So I'll just do all these in a row so I don't forget about it later. 3 and 4, right? So we're gonna have 4 cameras eventually. I'm just gonna start with 2 just to make sure this is working. And guess what, folks? That's kind of it. So you wanna have, just to recap, we wanna have our Pixel Streaming plugin activated. Ta-da, right? That's there. And then we've got our really simple little blueprint And we've got some render texture targets and some video input things. What are we calling these? Streamer video input actions. Sure. And then, yeah, we have these little pixel streamer components in here. And that really should be it. Oh, and we could change the name of this one. We actually do need to change the name of this one to camera 2. Otherwise, they won't show up in our pixel streaming. And now let's see if it's working. So I'm going to do save all. I'm going to do a quick build, package my project, inside our project folder, keep it nice and simple. And while that's happening, I'll go and I'll check in on my 7z file that has all of my fun web server stuff. So you see this compressed down quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and call this my pixel streaming, because what I'm going to basically do is extract this into the build folder here once everything is done. So I'm just going to find where we're building to, show and explore. And the thing that's a little bit awkward about this is once it builds, we're going to have to, kind of keep an eye on this. Usually once you get all this stuff into there, when you make a new build, here it goes, it's going into the samples folder. Normally when you make a new build here, it is going to be okay. It won't overwrite too many things here, but I do find every so often I need to kind of re-extract this and put it again into the right place. But you'll see right now, if we go into that samples folder, we have pixel streaming. Oh wait, I'm sorry. And that's just for the project, but under Windows, multiple cameras 52, samples, there's pixel streaming, there's web servers, and you'll notice we're missing a whole bunch of the stuff. So in theory, my understanding is everything that's in our plugins folder is supposed to copy over here. That doesn't seem to be happening at the moment, so that's why I'm doing it manually as soon as our project is done packaging. Holy cow, that was fast. Are we already done? I think we're already done. Output log, yeah, build successful. Cool. So we can do a quick test of this. And what we're going to do is, yeah, so see, this is what our folder should look like. And so we grabbed everything. So let's actually keep this guy over in our other folder just so that we have that handy. Though again, this plugin's getting updated all the time, so I'd keep an eye on it. Anyways, so now what we'll do is we'll open this guy up, and we are going to go into not our samples here, which again doesn't seem to make a difference for me, but instead the samples inside Windows over here. Multiple cameras, samples, pixel streaming, web servers, and drop all of our fun stuff into here. We don't actually need all of it, but none of it's going to hurt you. So that'll take a second to export. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that to kind of do its thing, I'll be a little bit risky and just go ahead and start this up. Actually, there's no reason to start it up because we need like a proper set of batch files to do this. And I'm going to be super, super lazy. And rather than creating these batch files from scratch, I'm just going to copy these over from another project, and I'll just kind of walk you through what's going on in each of them. So let's start with run local server. So run local server, we've got our project called multiple cameras exe. I'm going to open this up. I guess I should tell you at least the way you create a batch file is you can just create a txt file, type in whatever you want, and then you just change the extension to batch. But in any case, I'm going to say edit, open this up. Sorry, wrong one. We'll go over what that means in a second. Run local server, and so we just need to make sure we're naming this directory the same as our project, multiple cameras 52, and it's going to be samples, pixel streaming, blah, 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 all the way over down to that run local BAT file. So that will launch that. That will start up our local server. And again, we're not trying to set this up for the cloud today. We're just trying to get this all to run on my local network. I could do this from other devices. If I had like phones or other things with me, I could also check from there. But what we can do here is I've got a 2A and a 2B. The 2B one is to be able to do WebXR, which I'll just show you. That command for that is pixel streaming enable HMD. For the regular one here, I've got pretty much the same thing except render off screen. Let's take a look at that a little bit. This command, I need that to be the right name. Audio mixer for audio. This is the new way to get everything to render locally at the right port. This used to be divided up into 2 commands. Those will still work, but they're deprecated. So this is kind of the new brand spanking way to get all this to work. And then render off screen is just nice because it has everything rendering in the background. So you get some more resources for the rendering that's happening in the browser. And it's less confusing when you're moving between the browser and everything else. A couple other things I like are things like unattended, because then if anything pops up that's like, do you want to do XYZ? It's going to like automatically do okay. And then you can set like resolution, you can set the bitrate method and all that. There's all sorts of fun commands that are actually in my previous Pixel Stream video. So I'll just copy those over also into the description here. So basically, we're going to run a local server, we're going to launch the game, and what I've got for launch experience, this is just like saving me literally one click. It's just saying start that VAT file and then start that VAT file. So, does things pretty simply. And, oh, the parameter is incorrect. Why does it say the parameter is incorrect? Is it because I'm running something? Let's try closing this guy in case that matters. Well, let's just close that for a second because 7-zip is upset. Let's just try launch experience. Let's just see what happens because I think I know what's going to happen. So yeah, this is all starting up. It's doing its thing. Allow this to go in there. Okay, allow access. All right, you know what? I think it actually worked. And the way I know it worked is look at that. We've got, it's funny it says legacy because this is such a new thing, but it's showing me that we have our default streamer and then camera 1 and then camera 2. So even though it said that 7-zip was having a problem, I think everything got into here that we needed. So samples, pixel streaming, web servers. Ooh, or maybe not. Interesting. I'll see the front end there. Yeah, we do have our certificates, but we are missing the front end. Interesting. Okay, well, let's see what happens. So we're going to go ahead and go to localhost. And again, we don't want the HTTPS. So here we go. We go click to start. And it is working, actually. Interesting. I guess we don't actually need the front end for this. The front end must be necessary for WebXR. I'm going to leave this in the video, so we're all learning things. Do go through the whole building the front end part if you want WebXR in my next video in 4 months or something where I go over that. But good to know that I do think we do need this certificate, though. So in any case, it says multiple streamers detected. So I'm not doing a good job of building up to this, but ta-da, camera 1, camera 2, default streamer. So this is where the magic is. So if I go to default streamer, you'll see that we've got our standard, our standard guy. He's just walking around doing his thing, right? This is your standard pixel streaming foray. But yes, so what happens now if I go and I open up a second window? And this window, I put in, instead of default streamer, I do camera 1. Look at that. So now notice this. The input does get tricky here because input, I'm still only able to, have one input scheme. I can't give WASD to each of these because they're all going back to the same instance. But I can basically be inside either of these windows and doing my thing, and I can see it from 2 cameras. So that's pretty neat. You will notice that we're a little bit dark on the left. Sometimes you'll find traditional cameras don't quite have the same exposure values and whatnot as your standard cameras. You also notice I'm getting like some artifacting. This says I have a poor connection, which is funny because, this is all running locally. So hopefully that gets ironed out. But yeah, now let's go one further and let's just go to camera 2. See, I can just type it in manually into the browser there. And now look, we got 3 of these views. Pull this one apart. In fact, hey, there's a cool thing you can do that I've only recently started to play with. I can go 1, I can go 2, I can go 3, I can go 4. And now look at this. We've got our main camera view over here, and we can see everything in the other views. I'm trying to find an angle where we can see something in all 3 cameras. There we go. So there we go. I'm jumping up and down, and we've got our own little video village, and isn't that neat, right? And actually, the frame rate's not that bad there. So then, yeah, if we wanted to have more cameras, pretty simple, my friends. Like, all we would do is copy a couple more of these, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And we would just change those names again. So we'd go under scene capture, make that one number 3. We'd go under pixel streaming streamer, make that number 3, and call it camera 3, right? So I think that's it, right? 3, 3, 3, 3. And yeah, we're probably going to want to play a little bit with those exposure values. So I'll show you how to mess with that real quick, because every camera, every scene capture component has its own post-processing volume, which allows you to do fun stuff like that. So what we'll do now is we'll do camera 4 real quick, pixel streaming streamer. Obviously not doing these in any kind of rational order, but hopefully we're drilling this into your head. Right. Okay, so now we'll pilot a couple of these and just put them in some other places. Pilot, 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 pilot. Cool. Okay, so we'll do, something here that can maybe be like a good close-up. We want to get a close-up of our character. And again, I'm using a game template, but you can of course do exactly all this for a live action virtual production shoot, whatever kind of fun thing you might be up to. I'll do this of you coming up the ramp, maybe. That's kind of fun, right? Yeah, and then our other places are probably fine. And what I can do is, you can see that also here, like we're not getting a great sense of just how dark this is. Oh, also the texture target is kind of tiny, so we could increase that as well. In fact, yeah, we probably do, but it might also make everything more jittery. Who cares? Let's try like a basic 1280 by 720 kind of thing, right? And yeah, that's just going to be a little bit better. Notice that we're not getting like indirect shadows and all that. So that's again something we could kind of mess with in the processing settings. But let's go ahead real quick and just do that for you. Okay, yeah, so as I said, all of these have their own post-process volumes, and I don't have to edit them one at a time. I can actually grab all 4 of these at once, and I can go under. Oh, actually, you know what? We just found the perfect reason for why this should be based on the scene capture component blueprint, because if it was, I could select all of these at a time, but because it's a component, I can't edit that component for everyone at the same time. So that's a bit of a bummer. I'll do one of them, but let me show you really quick. I mean, again, what a messy tutorial this is, folks. I could just go under here, and if I did a new blueprint class and I made it based on the scene capture component, 2D, right? And I'm just going to show this as like, this is better. Same thing we just did. And all it has is the scene capture component is right there. It's like the root of the whole thing. And then once again, we would just have our begin play, and we'd have our streamer. And yeah, I'm not doing a validated get this time, but then we're just going to do streaming, start streaming. And you notice there's some other things here too. We can say is streaming, we can freeze a stream. There's, some fun things. But, oh, sorry, not is streaming, streaming. Start streaming, great. Yeah, and then this one, we'd actually be able to adjust some things with, so we got one of these in here, and now let's say we had a bunch of these. I could select all of these, and all at once, you'll notice I can actually go down into the post-processing volume and do things like change the exposure, right? So, in any case, for this one, we're just gonna do a couple or one. We're just gonna do one because I got other stuff to do, guys. I'm sorry. I want to spend as much time teaching as I can, but I have deadlines. But global illumination, we could have lumen on if we wanted to. Maybe I would do lumen and like turn the quality of everything way down. Same way I typically do my VR lumen stuff. Final gather quality, resolution, all that kind of stuff. Advanced, update speeds, also low. Not really any need to have reflections in this, so I would probably just turn reflections off. And then I would also go under the exposure and just crank up my exposure a little bit. Exposure, lens, exposure compensation. I could do like, I don't know, 5 or something. And I usually just set these both to 1. That way there's not like a, compensation thing. And again, some people like that. This is just my default is like, I don't like the eye adjustment thing in most cases. Haha, and my phone battery just filled up, which is silly. So you've lost my face, but let's just wrap this guy up. Let's do another quick little Windows package build. We're only going to be able to look at the PixelStream Camera 1. Let's delete those other ones that I made, just so they're not distracting. I already deleted them. I do cleanup without even thinking about it. Package, Windows, package project. Same thing again. Packaging failed. You know what? It failed because here's the thing about rendering off screen is you forget that you're rendering Unreal somewhere, and then you have to go and you have to kill it. So there it is. Kill it with fire. Die. No longer rendering off screen. And let me just clear this out, and then we'll just try one more time. And that should package pretty quick. Great, all done. Okay, so now same thing. We're just going to do launch experience. I've left these 2 browser windows open. And we'll make sure those all look okay. Yep, we got camera 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. So funny. It says legacy. and we're rendering off screen. And now we can just refresh both of these. And look at this. We got the brighter one here. And you can see Lumen is active, right? Lumen's active down there. So just, to give you a sense of what happens when you start to mess with the post-processing settings. And then, yeah, let's get a couple more of these going. We'll do camera. We got camera 1. We'll do camera 2. We'll do camera 3. And of course, those ones are still darker. We could do all 4 cameras too, actually. Right? So these all exist. All our different little angles here. And, I'm not sure where we're going to put them all, but let's try. Let's do one over here and one over here. And maybe this one we just kind of divide up a little bit awkwardly like this. Well, I really like seeing our Lumen view, so maybe I'll just make this guy a little tinier and put it right there. Great. Okay, so we're streaming a bunch of cameras, and you know what? I gotta say, we're actually getting a pretty good frame rate right now. I was trying to warn you guys about how terrible the frame rate was gonna be, and this actually isn't bad at all. Oh, I wanted to get that ramp view. Yeah, let's get the view coming up the ramp. Coming up the ramp. Da 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 da. Yeah, hero shot or something. And here's a fun challenge. Can I find a place where I put the character where we can see it in all cameras? The answer is probably no, but that's okay. Okay, anyway, guys, so I hope this is useful. When I think about the uses of this, it's manyfold. It's a video village in virtual production. It's split screen gaming, where instead of doing all this on one computer, someone can be going to camera 1 on their iPad and camera 3 on their Chromebook and camera 2 on, another computer entirely, their Steam Deck or something. So gaming, it's exciting. I'm excited, of course, for the WebXR side, because it means that we can get these great spectator accessible views for people without VR headsets, but someone in VR gets to have a very cool WebXR-esque experience. And I just think this is really cool. So thanks to TensorWorks, thanks to William Belcher and everyone who's been working on this functionality. And I can't wait to see what other people do with it. And please, if this is helpful to you and you want more videos like this, I do need peer pressure in order to get this kind of stuff done, because unfortunately my schedule is ridiculous. So please let me know if this was helpful. And if you make something cool, share it with me and I'll promote it and say, look at what one of my quote unquote students did. Good on you. And we'll sign off now. Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye. Oh, and I know people are going to request what kind of frame rate this is all getting. So I think we can do that under... Oh, you know what? This toggle show FPS button doesn't work. It is... also XR controller input, just to show you that, yeah, we're starting to get all that WebXR functionality in here. Hooray. It's over in info, actually. There we go. Info. So we can see, it's rendering in 1920 by 1080, which is interesting because... we actually have the rendered target smaller than that, but we got a frame rate of 60 here. We've got a frame rate of... Why can't I see the frame rate? 66. Wow. Frame rate 60. So yeah, I mean, considering I was telling all this to only stream at 24, this is pretty crazy. So let's try to get a nice little screenshot of that, because that's kind of nuts. Where's the one we can't see right now? There it is. Yeah, there we go. So frame 61, 61, 61, 60, 59. And you'll notice that they don't all have the same frame rate. So again, I'm on a pretty powerful computer, but that's pretty crazy that this is all the settings we're getting right now. Okay, more soon, I hope. Also look at that. 1280 by 720, 1280 by 720. Right, no, that makes sense. Yes, so these are all actually rendering at my render target resolution. This is rendering at the game resolution at 1920 by 1080. So great, there's not actually like an extra step needed there. Boy, what a mess of a tutorial, guys, but I still hope it was helpful. Thanks, till next time, bye-bye.